What is up? It is that time again, Mock Draft Monday, and I am joined by the one and only. I don't know if there's another content creator out there with the name Lupagus.
I don't think so.
And maybe that's a sign of things, but no. With Nick Hedlund, one of my 12 favorite Vikings content creators. No, certainly
Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of fun though. We do a lot of collabs. There's a lot of interesting kind of cross-pollination between the Vikings and the Cardinals over recent years.
Yeah.
Free agent signings, things like that. Certainly, some of the rumors of potential trades this year. So we get a lot of opportunities to kind of work together. I jump on your channel, whenever you need something, and glad to have you back. And it is always fun to hang out with you, Nick. Why don't you tell the folks who you are, a little bit more about what you do before we get into stuff?
Yeah, Nick Edlin, I'm co-host of the One Bar and Lupagus Show. You can find us at on YouTube, One Bar Lupagus Show.
The links in the description.
Yep, at Lupagus on Twitter. One Bar and Lupagus Show with a separate Twitter. Then at One Bar is my co-host. We have all kinds of fun Viking-related content. And yeah, we just try to have fun. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We try to make it very interactive on our show. We bring our fans on a lot, our viewers on a lot, and get them involved. Put them on some, do little game shows and stuff like that too. We try to make it fun. But I gotta say, Joe, I forgot your intro is fantastic. I was laughing the whole time.
I'm glad you enjoyed that. One of my viewers kind of sent me a message like last year to the tune of American Pie with the lyrics. And I you see my guitars in the background. I have a little bit of musical background. I have a good buddy named Doug Pack, who I played in bands with before, who actually recorded that version for me. And then I did the video edit. So fun stuff. One of the things I always enjoy when I've had the opportunity to be with you on live on your channel is your community reminds me a lot of mine. Just this really great group of people who are in the chat and you get to know who some of them are, some great folks who I see, I check out the comments whenever I'm on just to see who's there. And I see some of the same names, and you guys have a great community there, much like I have here. And that I think that's something you all have worked to foster. So that's kudos to you all on that.
It's been one of the biggest surprises and unexpected things, just this community of people that we've, grown up with over the last couple of years, kind of gotten to know and met a few of them too. So it's been great. Love it.
Awesome. Speaking of community, I'm going to just say hey to some of the folks in the chat. We got my buddy Aaron Van Buren. Appreciate you, good sir, saying go Iowa. So I don't know if that's
got it on right now.
Okay, nice. Aaron is from the snowy Midwest, like you are. So he's up in those regions. So a little something in common. But he's a Cardinals fan. We got Dana Robinson, one of our many folks who loves to watch film. She always has some really great insights. Weeks go quick with physical therapy and a few other responsibilities, and I keep forgetting to get a submission ready. Tried to do last minute one, was going well, and accidentally reset the draft. I'll use that as a jumping off point to just let everyone know next week's show is going to be the last week to submit mock drafts for the viewers. So I'm going to do one next week, like we normally do with viewer submissions. I'm going to be at a conference the following week, so there'll be no mock draft Monday that following week. And then the week after that is the week of the draft. It's like almost upon us. And I've got planned for that week, sort of a mock draft Monday All-Stars. That's more of a draft preview. I'm going to have some Cardinals content creators and some friends of the show on. So, it's going to be a nice, nice collection of folks. So y'all definitely, check out. But if you want to submit a mock draft, next week's show is the last one where I'm going to be doing viewer mocks. So and I'll mention that again at the end. We got Damon Harris saying Marvin Harrison Jr. or we riot. Just kidding. Yeah, but that's definitely the debate here, right? We got Drew McWhorter just finishing up some errands. I'll be joining you all soon. Happy Mock Draft Monday, everyone. We got Classy Nasty. What's up, Professor? Appreciate you being here. And Aaron saying, is it okay not to want Marvin Harrison Jr.? I think it's okay. I do love Marvin Harrison Jr. as a prospect. For me, and this is the place I've come to after taking everything into account, I'm not Marvin Harrison Jr. No matter what camp. I am the camp of you need to get one of those top three receivers. Any of the three will do. Neighbors, Azunde, or Harrison Jr. I don't care which one. I do have preference or ranking how I like them, but we have to get one of those in my opinion. But it doesn't matter which one. So that's me. Seb Hen saying, give me a Godfather deal, right? Zaki Felix saying trade back to win long-term, right? So that's kind of the argument there. To me, the best of both worlds. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. is the consensus number one receiver. But all three of these are these are like three of the best receiver prospects we've had in a long time. And like, either the other two would be a number one receiver in just about any other draft class. To me, if you can get just one of those guys and trade back and get some draft capital. But Nick, how do you what are your thoughts? I know you all have, you're Justin Jefferson guys. You have privileged status of having arguably the best receiver league. But how do you kind of shape up the receiver class?
Yeah, I mean, as far as you ranked them, I think you're right. Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze there. Those are the three. And I think, as far as where the Cardinals pick and what they need, I keep hearing, Harrison Jr. is such a great match because, Murray likes to attack the outside. And when he had what's his name, Hopkins, that's what he did. And that's when he thrived, when you just chuck it out there and let him go up and make a play. So to me, I don't know how you, after trading down last year, you don't stick and pick the best one. That's what worries me about the Cardinals at 4 with the Giants behind, Giants picking at 6, Vikings at 11. I feel like they could swing a deal with the Giants and still get one of those receivers guaranteed. And you can't say that going down to 11. So that's what worries me to trade with the Cardinals and the Vikings.
No, I hear you. And I think you make a great point about the big outside receiver. And that's the reason why, for me, as much as I would concede that Neighbors is the second best receiver after Harrison Jr. and that Odunze is the third, I still prefer Odunze for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Because of that big outside. And Neighbors may end up being the better receiver. But if I can trade back, like you said, to the Giants and still get Odunze and then add some draft capital. Now, you mentioned, you and I have talked in the past about the Vikings trading up and then maybe not such a, likelihood. But I actually think it's still in play, because if you look at what the Cardinals did last year, they traded back and then moved back up again to get Paris Johnson Jr. And my theory, what I am speculating, what I am suspicious is going on, is that Monty Ossenfort has been working the phones, which that we know he has, right? And I think he's got in play a potential trade backup partner. So I think the way he's looking at it is he's talked to the Vikings, and probably one of those conversations that if they don't move up to number 3, like I think a lot of people think they might as well, if they do move to number 4 and take the receiver, I think he's also kind of got something in line with one of those other teams in the top 7 or so to move back up and still end up with additional draft capital in the end. So that's kind of my thought. Aaron Van Buren saying, did you see that the team owes Terry McDonough $3 million for defamation? That was a former executive. I don't know if you followed that, but there was some kind of stuff. He was one of the people who kind of was sort of the whistleblowers on our owner, Michael Bidwell, for the kind of the toxic work environment. There was a statement from a third party sort of PR firm that's contracted by the Cardinals that was kind of leaked, so to speak, that really drug Terry McDonough through the mud in terms of his personal life and things that really needed, and just kind of attacking his character. And it was really kind of dirty pool. So I saw that just before we went live, so it doesn't surprise me. So yeah, but
yeah, I remember hearing something about that, but
yeah. So, well, we're going to get to what we do here. I've got, as I always do, I've got a player profile that I'm going to highlight. It's just a prospect. I usually try to find someone who's a day 2 or 3 prospect that I think is a good fit for the Cardinals. And then we're going to get into the mock drafts that you and I prepared, and then we'll get to the viewer mock. So when I look at, what I've done this week is I've gone after a position that we haven't talked about a lot for the Cardinals, at least since they signed Jonah Williams, and that's offensive tackle. Now, before the Cardinals signed Jonah Williams, a lot of the talk was at our pick at 27, the one we got from the Texans, that the Cardinals would, a lot of people thought they'd go tackle there, right? Or maybe with pick 35. And when they signed Jonah Williams, not that Jonah Williams is an all-pro tackle, but he's a starting caliber tackle. Him and Paris Johnson Jr. are young, both reasonably young, and those are starting offensive caliber offensive tackles. And it kind of took the pressure off the Cardinals to go so early with offensive tackle. Though Drew McWhorter saying, no, you go tackle. But my philosophy, my thought process, and this goes back, I did a couple of videos about Monty Ossenfort, like the kind of offensive lineman that I think he's going to look for this offensive system, the kind that work for the wide zone. I also looked at his draft strategy that I projected he would employ based on the Patriots, where he comes from, that really influenced what he does. And the Patriots will take tackles all throughout the draft, but they have their left tackle. And I think what they're looking to do, I think what the Cardinals are going to look to do under Monty Austin this year is find a tackle on day 2 or 3, somewhere maybe anywhere between round 3 and 7, who is a guy that they can develop to become the future starter, or at worst a swing tackle. We've got Kelvin Beachum as our swing tackle, who's kind of very, very old guy. So I've been kind of the mindset the Cardinals are going to go tackle a little bit later, but look for someone with kind of potential that they can develop. And that's kind of how I approach it. And I found a prospect that I think is really interesting. He is Patrick Paul, offensive tackle out of Houston, projected probably as a day 2. I think he's probably a 3rd round pick player in terms of where he'll go. Maybe someone reaches for him in 2nd round, but the Cardinals have multiple 3rd round picks. So I could see them throwing one of their 3rd round picks at Patrick Paul, get him in the room, start developing him. He doesn't need to start. He becomes sort of a backup, developmental. And then, Josh Jones 2.0 because of the Houston, where Josh Jones came from. Except Patrick Paul has better physical tools, but is more raw. Josh Jones was much more polished, graded out really well. Patrick Paul is more of a work in progress. You look at his description is 5'6", 7', 315. They talk about his plus size and his movement and all that's very good, but that he's got some work to do. And if you look at his grades are reasonably good, actually pretty good. Pass block grades are really good. Played left tackle. And then you look at his athleticism scores, they're really pretty good. His arm length at 36 inches is really good. His size is great. Pretty good movement size for someone his size, not elite movement, but pretty good. So this is a guy I think could be a guy that they potentially look at to develop that way. So that's who I've highlighted this time. A couple comments. Drew McCord saying he's been getting some late 1st round buzz based on those traits. It would be a steal line in 3rd round, and maybe they have to go 2nd round to get him. So that's possible. Dana saying haven't watched film on Paul, the tackle out of Texas. The 4th is kind of interesting. So another option. So this is the player I'm profiling. Someone just to kind of familiarize ourselves with that. It wouldn't shock me if they took a shot at him. I know your team, you, and I don't want to totally give away, but tackle isn't a starting tackle isn't a need for you, but maybe kind of a swing tackle depth is. What do you have? If you looked at the tackles or any thoughts on Paul or the tackle?
I haven't done much. That's like one of the positions I haven't done a lot of, because we really don't need one. We need a depth piece. We need one more. We got Brandel, but now he's like, positioned to be our starting left guard. We signed David Questenberry last year after final cuts, and he was great for us. He filled in right tackle, left tackle, played very well. We re-signed him. He's like 36 years old, but come back for one last hurrah. So yes, we should draft a tackle at some point, but it's just a position I haven't dived into a whole heck of a lot, because we got O'Neal, we got Darisaw. We're pretty set as far as bookends. But Patrick Paul's a guy I've seen him in round 2. Love that size. And I got to tell you this though, Professor.
Yeah.
Last year when I was on, the guy you highlighted was Kobe Turner. What did he do? Like an 8-sack season. I mean, he was insane.
Listen, I've got a knack for that.
You got the touch.
Right. So no, man. And that was a guy I was really sad we didn't get as a Cardinal.
Yeah.
Like I would have loved to have him. He was such a great prospect. And so we'll see if I got the touch here. And I don't know if you saw this. I did a video with my final mock draft last year, and I got 2 of the players right.
Did you?
Yeah, Garrett Williams. I even got the pick right. And what's weird is it was a trade. I originally had in that draft, mock draft, I had the Cardinals trading, Hopkins to the Titans and getting pick 72, I think it was. Yeah. And now they got pick 72, but it wasn't for trading Hopkins because they released him, but they got that pick in a different trade. So I actually, with Garrett Williams, literally nailed the exact spot where they got him. And it was a pick they didn't own at the time I did the video. Damn. The other player I got was Keitrell Clark. Now that one, they got him in the 6th round and I had them taking him in the 4th round.
Yeah.
So
he went later than I thought.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, just a couple of folks I want to say hey to that have jumped in here. We got Robert Moore. Thank you for being here. Good evening, gents. And then we've got Jackie McWhorter. Thank you for being here. Hi, all. Listen for the first time. Really appreciate you being here with us. Welcome to our live stream. So yeah, that's the guy that I've kind of gone with there. I think that's a guy like looking at the way Monty Austin Fort's going, looking for a future right tackle, developmental. But listen, if he goes earlier, like as Drew's saying, then maybe he's not there, right? Drew was saying Ronnie Bell was another Mock Draft Monday profile that made some plays last season. Nice. Yeah. So, and thank you, Daniel. Please hit the like button. Thanks for reminding us all to do that. I appreciate that. So, all right, here's what we're going to do now. Oh, Drew's mom is here. Jackie, you raised a delightful young man. We all love Drew. So in Twitter, in Discord, and here. So kudos to you on raising.
Fantastic.
Mom, so we got son. 2 generations here.
It's beautiful.
It is a family show, right?
I'll change that right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you brought in the right guy to ruin that. Quit lying, Joe. Oh. Yeah. Okay. You did a great job, Jackie, but it just didn't take because no. Drew's great. We love him around here. Austin saying, I think Jordan Morgan would be nice considering his inside-outside versatility. That's also a possibility. I just think if they're going that early, I think, based on, are you familiar with the Almighty chart?
No.
Oh,
unless I call it something different.
No. All right. So in that video, I put together sort of a heat map chart based on like the positions and the rounds where I think Monty Austin Fort will take based on what the Patriots did while he was with them and the Titans, and kind of gives you an idea of where they look at certain positions. And one of the big things on that chart is that interior offensive linemen, like there were none taken before the 3rd round. In fact, the 4th round's a real spot. So we've got this sort of thing, and this is the chart up there, but someone put it to a SpongeBob meme. Yeah. So basically, if someone takes a position that's kind of way out from where the chart says that Monty is likely to take them, we have to throw this up there. So the almighty chart. And so the reason I mentioned that is Jordan Morgan. I've mocked him before, and he's listed as a tackle, but the arm length makes you think he might have to be a guard. And that's kind of, so when I see someone who is projected like they're probably going to be a guard at the next level or a good chance there, I don't know that Monty's going to go that route until later. Jackie saying, thanks, me too. Praise the chart. Ooh, shiny. It's a running theme in our Discord that in fact, I just told someone today that they were going to be excommunicated because they defiled the almighty chart.
I got to ask you too, before we get started.
Yeah.
You had the song last year for John Michael Schmitz.
You
got a song for anybody this year?
So I do not have a song, but do you all want to hear it?
I wouldn't mind hearing it one more time.
Okay, everyone, we have a special treat. As a reminder, John Michael, he's not our center Schmitz. So, Robert, if your son is watching, I know he loves this. So here we go. John Michael, he's our center Schmitz. His name's on my draft too. No matter what they say, this mock is a-okay. It's got John Michael, he's our center Schmitz. So there it is.
There it is.
Yes, those are the dulcet tones of me. Yes, that is on my YouTube channel. So if anyone wants to see it, it is still there for the viewing. But yes, I don't have one for any. Yeah, Giants. He didn't have a great year, but offensive linemen seem to struggle there. So
did anybody in New York last year?
Yeah, right. No, like I tell you what, like Will Hernandez, right? They drafted him. I think his rookie year was decent, but he struggled last couple of years. He comes to Arizona, he becomes solid, right?
Yeah.
So Dana, for posterity, right? Absolutely. So, all right. So yes, we do have the John Michael Schmitz song. His son covered his ears, so I don't want to hear that.
It's painful memory.
He loved it last year, so Jackie loves it. Awesome. So, all right. So let's get into the mocks. We're going to do the Vikings mocks first,
okay,
and then the Cardinals mocks. So we'll start with yours. All right. So guess first. So this is your Vikings mock. So what I'd like you to do is just kind of walk us through your thought process with the picks and kind of how you approach this.
Yeah. So here's my thought: the Vikings, if you're going to trade up, go to 3. At least have a choice. If you want May, or if it's May or McCarthy, the 2. Daniels was here in this mock. It could happen. But at least give it. This is the player that Kwesi is tying his whole entire career to. Kevin O'Connell as the head coach. If it doesn't work out, he has a better chance of getting our job than Kwesi does down the road. So you got to be able to choose. You can't just take the leftovers in a trade up, which I think if you get to 4, you're probably going to get the leftovers. I love Jaden Daniels. Obviously dangerous with his legs as well as his arm. He throws with great anticipation. He actually releases the ball before the receivers are out of their breaks. So I'm a big Jaden Daniels fan. Actually, he's probably my favorite. I just took Caleb Williams out of the equation because he's going to the Bears, so that's a done deal. But I love him. You got to put a little more weight on this frame. He takes a lot of unnecessary hits, makes me nervous. But to get the 3, I think I gave up 11-23 in next year's first. It's time for the Vikings to take a big swing, and I think you got to take a big swing. So that's why I went to 3 instead of trying to trade up to 4.
Nice.
Yeah, and then so now we have this long wait as a Vikings fan. It's we still going to deal with the Texans, and we wait. No pick on day 2, which is going to be just painful. But McKinley Jackson's there in round 4. I'm doing jumping jacks. He can play nose. He can play on the edge. We kind of neglected the D-line, which was a huge need going into the offseason. Yeah, we re-signed Jonathan Bullard. We got, what's his name? The former first round, Jerry Tillery. We got Jonah Williams. Half our viewers thought we got your Jonah Williams when we signed that Jonah Williams. So we got to make that clear when we did that video that, no, it's not that Jonah Williams. So they kind of still neglected the position. You got to get some meat on the D-line. McKinley Jackson there, to me, is a home run. Malik Washington, he's a little undersized, but he's compact. He's thick. He's strong, dangerous after the catch. Vikings could use another wide receiver. We brought back Brandon Powell, who was good in the slot, kind of really an unsung hero last year. When he was put on the field, he caught everything thrown his way. He's tiny, but he's tough. Washington, I think, is similar, but he's bigger, he's thicker, he's really dangerous too after the catch. So I love that. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. Get him in round 4. That to me is just a huge round 4 if we can do that. Mason McCormick, the big guard from South Dakota State, the Jackrabbit. He's wide. He can move, get the second level. I like to see a little more power. He watches highlights. He doesn't really destroy anybody. And I like to watch my guards knock some guys on their butts. McCormick didn't do that, but he gets in the way. And again, right now, Blake Brandel is our starting left guard, which is kind of horrifying because he's just been a swing right tackle. He played a little bit guard last year, and now they didn't bring back Dalton Reisner. It doesn't look like they're going to. And now he's your left guard, and that's a huge need, especially if it's Sam Darnold or rookie quarterback. Have Blake Brandel as a starting left guard is an issue, and there's no depth behind them. Our depth behind them is guys who've never even, I think, played a snap in the NFL. So we need some interior O-line help. Mason McCormick would be huge. Gabe Hall, just more meat for that D-line. Gabe Hall, he's not like, you look at him, he's actually kind of well put together for that big, they say nose, but he doesn't have a big belly on him. He's just this big dude. He had a good Senior Bowl week. Again, Vikings need talent on that D-line, so that's why I went ahead with Gabe Hall. Jarvis Brownlee, the corner from Louisville. I like his length. He's got some long arms, man. He can go up, get his arms up in the air, knock that ball away. He's also not afraid to come up and lay a hit. So a guy I've kind of come on to late, but I'm a big Jarvis Brownlee fan. Gabe Murphy's an interesting one. The hustle player, edge guy. He played opposite Latu there at UCLA. He's got some pretty splashy plays on film. Again, but you see him all over the map. I've seen him in round 4. I've seen him in round 7. He was there at 230. You can never have enough good edge rushers, so I snapped him up. And then Dylan Johnson, running back. We did get Aaron Jones for 1 year. Ty Chandler did look good last year. He kind of took over the starting job from Alexander Madison, who was a huge flop as a starter. He'd been primarily a backup prior to that. But other than that, we got nothing on the depth chart. Dwayne McBride was a horrible 7th-round pick last year. I've never seen a guy look like he doesn't belong in the league early. Like from the first touch he had in preseason, he was like turning his shoulder as he went to the line, like he was scared of contact. So Dylan Johnson, the Washington running back, he was there. And we have Kenny Ngwangwu, who's just a kick returner. So we need depth at running back as well. So those are my thoughts with the way this mock went. Really, I feel like most of the needs that we have were hit here, and I'd actually be pretty ecstatic if this is the way it turned out.
Yeah, a couple of folks mentioned that Brownlee's kind of undervalued by this particular draft site, and that instead of saying you've seen him as a top 100 pick, so you might have to go a little earlier to get him, but that they like that player. Robert saying he has a hard time seeing that you need help at wide receiver. I will say when I looked at the Vikings roster to kind of prepare for mine, depth at receiver was a position I identified. Obviously, your top end talent is outstanding. Yep. I think Jefferson. To me, he may be the best receiver in the league. He is. I think there's one or two other guys you could make the argument with, but to me, I would lean towards Jefferson, right? So, Gabe Hall, Cardinals met with him,
Mhm.
so he's on their radar too. So yeah, and then Murphy, High Motor, didn't say. Yeah, both those guys gonna need new contracts too, right? Yeah, that's a good point. Drew has a question for you.
Yeah.
In the very unlikely scenario of
Yeah.
no trade from Minnesota, do you have any thoughts on the quarterbacks outside the top four, Nick Penix or Spencer Rattler?
Yeah, and I think I speak for everybody in Minnesota. One of those three that we would take would be Michael Penix Jr. I love the way he's almost a technician with his ball placement, slinging that thing in tight spots. He's not afraid. Obviously, the injury history is a concern.
Yeah.
And also his touch, like over the middle. KLC loves to attack. KLC, our head coach, we call him KLC, loves to attack the middle of the field. And like you don't really see Penix making a lot of touch throws over the middle. He's more of just a slinger to the outside. But he looks so damn good that game against Texas, the way he can throw the ball, stand tall in the pocket. He can move a little bit too. Everybody thinks he's like the statue back there, but he can take off and run. Also slides, he protects himself a lot better than Jane Daniels does. So fallback plan at quarterback, I think for every Vikings fan, is Michael Penix.
From the things I have heard and watched about the quarterbacks, and I don't watch as closely as some people do, especially a quarterback, because that's not a position we're looking at. But from the things I've heard, if I had to take a chance on one of those three guys, it's the same one, right? Like in terms of the upside there. So, okay, cool. Well, so when I looked at it, obviously quarterback was a need. I had guard as a high need as well. Yep. I had a backup center as a position to look at potentially, or developmental center. I also had wide receiver. And then I looked at defensive interior and edge, and I had the same opinion of both of those position groups for you. You have a lot of guys, but you need a dog, right? You need an alpha at both those positions. You have a ton of edge rushers. It just, you could really use, but the tough part is with the draft positions you've got, it's hard to get those guys. So I took a little bit of approach, especially with edge, of taking a little bit of a shot at a guy as upside that you get a little later. So here's what I did. Because it's a Cardinals podcast, I did the Cardinals trade. Okay. Both first this year and first next year. Maybe that's not exactly what it would have to look like, but more or less there. I went with JJ McCarthy. That was the guy, the best guy that was there. Right. Then in the fourth round, I went with Javon Solomon, a guy out of Troy who, because it's the small school, he's kind of going a little later, but had a ridiculous amount of sacks, something like 17. Yeah, something like that. And it's a guy that if I'm going to take a shot on a guy with upside there to try to hope a guy who could become that, that really good edge rusher, that's kind of the shot I'm taking there. So that I went there 108. Then I went with Cooper Beebe, more or less the best guard on the board there at pick 129 to get you what will hopefully be a starting guard. I went with Taj Washington, another kind of smaller receiver, but, really productive slot type receiver, for that depth at round 5. I got you a developmental center in Drake Nugent in round 5. Got some help for defensive line. He may not end up being what, that starter, but certainly a guy that, from LSU, has some potential. Got another body in there. Got you also a running back, Isaiah Davis, small school, South Dakota State, up in your neck of the woods, but very productive, taking a shot there. And tight end isn't a need for you. You have really nice guys in that room. But in the 7th round, you're going depth. You guys that might be on the practice squad, special team. So I just kind of get you a guy for the back end of the roster, tight end, because he was one of the better players on the board. So this is kind of what I went with. As a Vikings fan and someone who follows the team much more close than I do, what's your feedback on how I approach this?
I gotta be honest with you. We've actually we kind of started doing a mock draft Tuesday thing, kind of stole your thunder. We've actually had a very similar draft to this on our show. So you did really well, honestly. McCarthy, definitely a very, very likely option for the Vikings. They seem to love him. They spent like 3 days with him. Everybody says he's a great fit. I mean, he's just he's just so, the fact he hasn't done it, he hasn't had those 300-yard games, he hasn't been the guy, and you're gonna give up, potentially 3 first-round picks to get him. That's what scares me with McCarthy. I think he'll be a great fit, but I think if we draft him, we may be seeing Sam Darnold for a year, and that's kind of gross. Solomon, you said it, he had that explosive season where he just had a ton of sacks. And I think at pick 108, there's a ton of different options the Vikings can go. I don't think they're forced into any one position the way they've addressed free agency. Cooper Beebe, we actually did a bracket, a Final Four type of bracket of pick 108 and he won the bracket. He was in there, and everybody wanted to be. I do think he probably comes in and starts for the Vikings. Taj Washington, he's a dog. I like him. I actually read somewhere that his teammates preferred him over Brendan Rice. So, I mean, that says something. Drake Nugent is a name we see all the time when we do mock drafts. Jordan Jefferson, I like him. He's mean, tough. He's the one who like threw his helmet, I think, at the Senior Bowl. I mean, he's got some fire to him. So, and we can always use another JJ. We know with this draft, we have 3 JJs
right
on the Vikings. That would be fantastic. Isaiah Davis, he's bigger, right? He's a bigger back, I believe.
Yeah, he's a little bit bigger. Yep.
And that's what we need. We need a big power back. We got, Ty Chandler shifty. Jones isn't known to be a power back. We could use a power back there. And then McLaughlin, one bar loves him. He's like one of his favorite players in this draft. So we usually end up with him at some point. And you got to remember, TJ Hawkinson's out till like probably October as he recovers from that cheap shot he got from Kirby Joseph toward the end of the season. And Nick Muse is not a sure bet to make the roster. So Tanner McLaughlin definitely has a chance to make the team. So tight end is kind of an underrated option, especially when you're sitting there late in the draft and you're looking to, get some value that we do actually quite often. So the way you approach it is the way a lot of us Vikings fans approach it. So you did very, very well.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you. That's awesome. It's always good to hear from the people who cover the team, because I have a kind of a general idea of what teams look like, but when I do these, I kind of go in, look at the rosters, but I haven't been following the storylines like you have. So for example, the injury, right, to Hawkinson kind of had been lost upon me. So that's really good feedback. A couple thoughts from the chat. No, that's the question. Okay. Drew saying he agrees. He likes Penix, right? He thinks he's scheme dependent, wouldn't work in every scheme. But I think Minnesota would be a great fit for him as well. A couple folks really like BB. Dana saying he throws a rope if you can throw with arc as well. Look out, Mikey, good buddy Mikey, who actually did that. He get the lyrics for the theme song. Thanks for being here, Mikey. Tariq Owens at wide receiver 6'3", 202 would be a steal later rounds in the draft. Dana saying Eric All is her tight end for late in the draft. I had too many injuries, but he'd be a second in round 2 conversation.
Vikings met with him.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yep. So that's the guy you might be looking at. Stephen saying McCarthy's a milquetoast pick. So yeah, like the whole deal with him, right, is because like the offense, they made him play as a game manager. They did not put a lot on him at Michigan. So he just wasn't asked to do a lot, but when everything he was asked to do, he did really, really well. Right. So that's the thing people are wondering about him. Is he this guy who has all that you are looking for and just was underutilized, or is he truly just a game manager who benefited from, their run first system? And that's really the question.
Well, the other thing too, I think that worries me is, were they afraid to go to him in clutch situations? Right. I mean, was there a trust issue there? That to me is would be, obviously a huge red flag, but it makes you wonder.
With the coach, right, Harbaugh, that was there, he's such a prickly, particular kind of guy, kind of mercurial. So, you're really just kind of trying to read the tea leaves and really kind of, pull threads. But like, if there's a coach who's going to stick to an approach and a system because he's stubborn, regardless of the talent of the quarterback, he's one who I would think do that. He's not a guy that seems to me like a guy who's going to adjust what he wants to do because of his talent as much as other coaches. I don't know. So maybe that's the hope, right? Daniel Cora, thanks for being here. I'm hearing the Vikings think the Cardinals asking price for the 4th overall pick is too expensive. I really hope they keep thinking that maybe we can still nab Marvin Harrison Jr. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard anything about, it being too expensive or anything. No.
Yeah. All right. So there's our Vikings mock draft. So now we're going to get into the Cardinals. Okay. And we're going to start with yours. So let's see if you did us dirty or did us proud.
I made this team really good.
All right. Oh, that scares me. So here we go.
All right. So I'm fully on the bandwagon that you take Marvin Harrison Jr. You cannot pass on elite top end talent 2 years in a row. I think you take the stud. You take the star. I know he's kind of maybe, and I'm curious what you think. Has he rubbed you guys the wrong way with the way he's approached this draft season? Like not competing at the combine. I don't think he even did anything at his pro day. I mean, what's going on there?
I think there's a small contingent of fans who feel that way, but I think they are the kinds of fans who, at the risk of alienating folks, maybe have a very old school mindset that if that people who do that are going to bother them no matter what. Okay. The Cardinals front office came out and said that they were fine with it. I don't have a problem with it. I think I'm very pragmatic, in terms of do what works. And when I look at it, he doesn't need to do anything, and there's only downside: injury, having a performance on a drill that's not what people expected. I mean, when you are already the consensus, he's going to be the first non-quarterback taken, unless maybe someone likes Neighbors best, and then he's the second non-quarterback. What upside is there for doing anything in that, right? You don't need to. There's only downside there. So I think most fans kind of look at it that way. So yeah, real quick to say, hey, thanks for dropping by, Lance. Appreciate you being here. It's my draft. Your draft is in the lineup, Lance. I got it. Thank you. Dana, real quick, saying McCarthy reads defense as well, but has inconsistent accuracy, throws on route, but often ahead of his leading receiver. I have him over May from film. Robert saying be prepared to be critiqued harshly. So, but Mikey likes it. Justin Herbert is the reason evaluation process is difficult. So I look at quarterback tools as possible franchise for sure. Lance loves this.
Oh, thanks, Lance.
Dana has some thoughts on Kool-Aid, but gets lost in zone coverage. We play a lot of, but okay, I'm sorry. So you asked that question. So let's.
So that's what I was thinking. I don't think you can pass an elite talent. Like, you have to get the stud. Corner was a position I was going to have targeted earlier for you guys, and Kool-Aid was the best at that point. I know he has the injury; he has to have surgery, but he did run like a 4.35 at his pro day. Being hurt, something like that. He had a great time. So I don't know if he's a first round pick, but he was the top corner on the board. So I went there. Wasn't overly excited about it, but his name's Kool-Aid, so you guys should enjoy that. You need an edge. Braylon Trice was the best option there, which I hate the fact how he lost all the weight at the combine. Still didn't work out great, but he's a power guy. Put that weight back on. Be who you are, Braylon.
Right.
A power rusher. I think he can get you 8 sacks this season. Chris Jenkins, I love him. Quick off the ball, explosive. He can create some interior pass rush for you. And then I talked about McCormick, the guard I got for Vikings, not really blowing people off their feet, but Van Pran Granger does that. He knocks you on your ass. Big, mean, physical guard. Renardo Greeno, if you guys are familiar with him, this is one of our viewers on our show, brought him up, and we all kind of fell in love with him. Physical corner. He'll come up and smack you in the face. Austin Booker, just a guy I just watched the other night, actually. Love his length, his explosiveness. I think he's a little bit underrated as well. Theo Johnson, big tight end, had a great Senior Bowl. He just always is lower than I think he should be in all these mock draft simulators. Randolph Jr., another defensive line guy. I don't know if you looked at him at all, but he's fun, man. He inside outside guy. Also, he just gets so excited every time he makes a play. You love his energy out there on the field. A guy I'm starting to really like here as we get late in this draft season. Isaac Rendo, the former Wisconsin running back, transfer to Louisville, big physical runner. And then Josh Cephas, receiver, good East-West Shrine Week. He's big. He doesn't drop the ball. Like, he catches everything thrown his way. I think his drop rate is super low. Does have some character issues. I think he might have 2 DUIs in his past, but he can overcome that. I think that he could potentially be a steal.
Nice. Well, I like what you did here a lot. Excuse me, Marvin Harrison Jr. Listen, I said my position is, as long as you get one of the top 3, I'm good, but I will be ecstatic if we get him. So I think that's a really great pick. I like Kool-Aid McKinstry. I know, Dana's pointed out some things about him that, aren't, some deficiencies, but I think he's a really good player. Maybe you can get him a little later, maybe not. Braylon Trice, nice player there at pick 35. I think we need a number 1 cornerback and a number 1 edge. We have guys at those positions, but we need a number 1. So, Braylon Trice may or may not be that, but he has at least some upside. Definitely Kool-Aid McKinstry has that upside. Defensive tackle is a need for us, but we're a little bit like you guys in that we signed a bunch of NFL caliber starting players.
Tyrese Tonga. You got Tonga.
Right. And which is actually we talked about that when, we messaged, when we signed him, and of the guys we signed, that's actually probably one of my favorites. Right. And I know you guys.
It was just weird. Like we all thought he was breaking out last year for the Vikings, and under Flores, he just doesn't use. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how you play better under Donatello than you do under Flores. It makes no sense to me.
I don't even know. Right. Yeah. So, but he was a nice addition. So we signed like 3 or 4 guys that are like that. So we have depth. But what we need is like a one alpha guy at that position, right? Much like your room, your defensive line, and our edge is a little bit like that too. So maybe the one thing, like I'm not going 2 defensive linemen in my drafts anymore, but I'm good with going 1. So I like the Chris Jenkins pick more than I like the Randolph pick. So getting 1 is good. Cedric Van Pran is a good center. I think. For me, looking at the wide zone kind of they run, you really want someone with more movement skill, and he's good, but I think there are centers that you can get later that are a better fit for their system.
You draft him, we'll trade you Garrett Bradbury.
Right. Exactly. Right. Right. My friend Marcos here saying, thought the Vikings are missing the yeah.
No.
For sure. Real quick, Lance saying thought we might attack cornerback a bit more in free agency. I definitely think that get a tall cornerstone quarterback draft, maybe trade back at multiple picks, wide receiver cornerback. Yeah. And like with cornerback, you have to remember a team really only carries maybe 5 of them in their cornerback room, and often as few as 4. So the Cardinals have Garrett Williams, they have Murphy Bunting, they have Keitrell Clark, and potentially, if they bring back Antonio Hamilton, right, they have Starling Thomas V, who started some for last year. He was undrafted free agent. They like him. So there's already like 4 or 5 guys that might make the roster. So, and then if they draft a guy, which I think they should and hopefully will, but it needs to be a guy who they think can be their number 1. You get to the point where I'm not surprised they didn't attack it more heavily, because you start to run out of space. So I think getting 1 guy like they did is smart. Hopefully they draft 1 guy, but we'll see. But so you've got 2 cornerbacks, so maybe that's a little bit, but I do like Renardo Green as well, right? So I probably wouldn't do 2 of them, but that's me. Austin Booker getting another edge. Theo Johnson, really athletic tight end. I definitely have tight end as a position that I think the Cardinals, to get like a guy behind McBride, right, that I think they'll look at. I love Guerrero. I know a lot of people like him as well. Not a lot of, he still has a lot of tread on the tire. Wasn't used a lot, but fast, big. And then I like getting 2 receivers. So I like the Josh Cephas pick. They need receivers. So I like taking 1 early and 1 late. So I like what you did over here overall. Maybe a few little things I do differently, but I think you assessed our needs pretty well with this.
Thank you. Yeah, and there's a couple of guys like McKinstry and Trice were both a little earlier than I wanted, but I was really hoping like maybe Verse would fall, or Latu or someone would fall, but
yeah, for sure. Chris is saying we definitely need a solid center. Yelta Froholt was decent for us, so I still think we can go with him as a starter, but I like getting someone to develop, right? Yeah, Dan is saying Guerrero, low mileage, high athleticism, good vision. Cephas is one guy. I know Dan has mentioned she really likes Cephas a lot, and I think Cephas is a really intriguing prospect. The one thing on him that worries me is the contested catch rate is a little not great, and that's the thing they look for, but that's not
he was always open. That's why.
Yeah, right. There you go. Right. No. Calvin, thanks for being here. Calvin, longtime supporter of the channel. Appreciate you very much, Calvin. Monty sets us up last year with picks this year. In my opinion, don't squander number 4 for additional picks. Get Marvin Harrison
That
Jr.
seems to be your guys' big argument here, right? I mean, it's stick and pick or trade. It seems to be very heated. That
is currently the number 1 debate, right? Like, a year ago, it was Kyler or trade, stick with Kyler or go with, when we thought we were going to have the number 1 overall pick, right? Caleb, but now that debate is not happening anymore. Right. And now it's the Marvin Harrison Jr. versus any other plan, right? That's the debate. That is the number 1 debate right now. Absolutely. So you hit that right. Lance saying excited for the draft. Joe will be streaming live. I'm tentatively planning to stream live the first time, but I'm going to jump on with you all briefly before in the pregame.
A little tailgate, get some last minute rumblings about the potential trade.
For sure. But I am planning to do something for at least the first round. So we'll have more details as we get closer. So yeah, thanks for asking. Drew saying Chris Jenkins is solid run stopper, eats space, gets off the blocks well, doesn't provide a ton of pass or pass rush, but we need that brings for sure. So good job, Nick. I like it.
Thank you.
All right. So here's my mock draft. I'll tell you, and every week I do something a little bit different to try different looks. And I decided to let Monty Austinfort put on his chef's hat and let Monty cook. I did a bunch of trades, or at least a couple trades, moved around a bit, did some stuff here. All right. And so there's a lot of picks, but I really like this mock. But Dana didn't like my mock draft last week, so we're going to see how tough she is this week. But let's see what we got here. All right, I talked about it. I try to highlight in my mocks the player that I profiled, which you see Patrick Polzer, but I also sometimes try to highlight approaches. And I mentioned earlier in the stream that I've really kind of come to that place where I am okay with a trade back as long as we get one of the big three. In fact, I kind of like that idea because I really love Roma Dunze. If we can get him and some extra draft capital, I would be ecstatic. So what I did is I took a trade with you all. Okay. Mm-hmm. No, I'm sorry. I took a trade back to Tennessee. Okay. So I took the Tennessee trade to get to pick 7, right? And then, I took a trade with you and then I did another trade. I think that's what I've got. Yeah. So I doubled up. So I did a couple different trades. Yes, I'm sorry. It's got them all in weird orders, but I've got the Vikings trade, right?
Yep.
And then I traded back up like I talked about to pick 7. So what I ended up doing was, I moved some things around. I had to move, I had to give up a couple of things, but I was able to, get that future first round pick and get some other draft capital, right? And then I took Roma Dunze, right? And then I moved around a little bit, moved back up to 18 to get Jared Verse. I got our edge rusher, okay? So I really, really feel like getting an elite edge rusher is important. Then I also stuck with that pick 23 we got from you guys. Now, Cooper DeJean is probably not going to be there 23. He's probably going to go earlier than that. If he's there, it's a great pick, I think.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, it depends. A lot of teams think he could be a safety. So, I mean, where are you going to play him?
That's a good point. Yeah. And I think there's some people who think that. And then there's some people who think, well, he could, because that the cornerback, the same conversation was had about what's his name? He played for the Rams and the Jaguars and now Miami. The cornerback, the elite cornerback.
Jalen Ramsey?
Jalen Ramsey. When Jalen Ramsey was coming out, the same conversation was had about him. Is he a safety or cornerback? Now, I don't know if he'll be a safety, but if, there's a couple other cornerbacks that will be there at 23. Cloyd McKinstry, right? Terry Notter will probably be gone, but there's Wiggins might be there. Mm-hmm. So even if you think DeJean won't be there, plug in the best cornerback on the board, a cornerback one in that position. So what I did is I got us a wide receiver 1, an edge rusher 1, and a cornerback 1 all in the first round by moving around, and still picked up myself some future draft capital. A few more trades. I traded back in the second round to get some extra, kind of move some things around. Got Javon Bullard. He's kind of a slot / safety. It reminds me of the guy that the Lions drafted last year. Reminds me a little bit of him. So he's kind of, a little bit of a hybrid there, but I really like him. Then I got us linebacker Junior Colson. They need a linebacker, I think, like a starting caliber linebacker. So that's kind of where I went with there. Obviously, Patrick Paul, who we talked about. Then I went halfback Ray Davis. I wasn't targeting him. He was the best on the board. Maybe you could go with a different halfback, but he's a nice fit for the zone running kind of system. So I like that, in terms of a good fit for that. Then I went with Malik Washington, got my second wide receiver. He's a smaller slot wide receiver, but we got the big receiver in Adunze, and we've got, Michael Wilson, another big receiver on the outside. We're going to play a lot of two tight end sets, and so I got us a guy to kind of platoon in there behind Greg Dortch and be, another slot guy. Then I got Christian Boyd, who I think a lot of people think if you're going defensive interior a little bit late, he's really a good guy to look at. Now, he may not go this late, but a lot of people
met with him 3 times.
Yeah. Like, I think he's the darling of the late round interior defensive lineman, right? So if we can nab him on day 3, I love it. Then Grayson Murphy, right? You had a Murphy, right? Do you have Gabriel?
I had Gabe,
the twin brother, right?
Yeah.
So we got the Murphy bookends, right? So another edge, kind of for some depth with some potential. Same tight end, Theo Johnson, the very athletic tight end, right?
Good.
Yeah. So that, and then Connor Botolini, folks may not be familiar with him. He's very athletic. Like his RAS scores, his athleticism. Like we keep talking about the shuttle score, like that's the kind of the cheat code for interior offensive linemen. If they got a 4.37, I think, or better, and he's got a 4.28. So he's a little bit undersized, a little smallish, but not for center. It's fine. He's 6'4", 303. It's not that bad, but his movement skills are very elite. So that's kind of a late center to develop. So that's what I went with. Let me real quick get some of the comments in the chat real quick. Let's see. Let's see. Robert saying seems like an easy answer, right? We have no wide receiver 1. Oh, Marvin Harrison Jr. right there, but trade down for more picks, even though we have 11, right? Yeah. And listen, I did prioritize getting future picks, I will say, and I think that's something Monty's definitely going to do. Hank saying, considering Gannon's offense, you think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the most impactful player they could get at 4? Will he be miles ahead of Odunze at Neighbors on the cards? I mean, I don't know if I think he's going to be the best player. If you stay at 4, he's the only player I'm taking for me. But if I'm trading back, I'm very happy with Rome Odunze. I think he's going to be the number 1 receiver in the NFL. Yeah, Dana was savage on me last week, so for sure. Drew saying that scares him. Dana going to tear mine apart. Mazaki saying, if we don't trade back, we're drafting top 10 again next year. Maybe, yeah. Wow, Dana likes it. A-. I got a D+ last time. Okay, so shit. Yeah, listen, I'm the professor, and she graded me really. She had that red pen out. She was like all over the place. So A- Draft Joe would have gone Cooper at 46 and gone with a different safety. Cooper's just so much better than Colson. Would have been an A+, but she likes it. So that's really huge, right? Appreciate that. Drew saying, I wouldn't be so sold on Cooper before then. If he makes it past Green Bay, he could fall out of round 1. Not likely to be guaranteed to go round 1. Back-to-back secondary picks. Doesn't really like that. Technically back-to-back safeties, but I think he's a guard, our cornerback, and Dana's saying thing, right? He's just not super trained up and pressed, but he can play anywhere. Yeah. Lance, love this too. I'll give it an A. Maybe running back too early. We have to watch some film on the defense tackle Boyd. Overall, great draft. I think Washington will be a steal in Phil's Rondell role. He's electric. Thank you, Lance. Yeah. I will say it's because what I philosophically love going running back really late, like 5th, 6th round, particularly 5th round. I think that's a good spot. But the almighty chart has that the Patriots have gone running back early, 1st through 4th rounds, a lot in the 3rd round. That's where they really like to hit. So if I'm trying, and one of my goals is to try to be realistic, I guess, in terms of what I think they're going to do. So I often will go running back a little earlier than I would like. But yeah, absolutely. Let's see. She says that everyone in this draft makes the roster. Some will excel. So that's good feedback, right? Everyone is fine with undersized center until your quarterback's taking snaps from Mason Cole.
Oh, you guys got Mason Cole too?
No, we drafted him.
Oh,
we don't have.
We got him from you, didn't we? We signed him.
Yeah.
We traded him to Pittsburgh, or maybe we signed with him. I don't know.
Yeah, he played there for sure.
Yeah.
Luke saying, I'm not the biggest Rome fan, but you were high on Puka last year, so I'll give you that. I love first. Yeah, I really like Puka Nacua right last year, so maybe I really do like Rome Odunze. I just so you like Verse as well. Thank you, appreciate that. I do like the late center pick, has potential, right? Edgerrin Cooper, I've had him in some of my mock drafts. That's nice.
Him.
Yeah, that's enough. Nice linebacker for sure. Robert gives me a B-, so he graded more harshly, right, than Dana. And then Chris gave me a B. Cooper maybe a safety, not a cornerback. I think he's again. We've talked about that. And then Drew saying I do too. Bortolini literally lined up all 5 positions, so super flexible. But I had to get that Cole shot in there, no doubt. So, all right. So that's my mock draft. Do you have any feedback or thoughts as you look at this?
No, you got some high-end players there. Odunze, Verse, DeJean. I mean, I don't know how you not give it an A just from those 3 alone. So that was huge. Be able to maneuver the board and get those 3 guys still. I love Washington. I love Boyd. So Theo Johnson late. Yeah, this was amazing draft. But yes, Brian 93. No, we're Storm Duck.
Right. Well, Storm Duck will make an appearance tonight. So spoiler. So yeah. I like I said, I let Monty put on the chef's hat for this one. Monty cooked, right? All right.
Did.
So let's go on. Now we're going to get to what we're here for in the chat, and that's all of your mock drafts. And Nick, the way I've kind of been approaching this is with guests is what I'd like you to do is when we go to each of these drafts, just highlight one pick you either like or hate, or just that stands out to you the most. So we don't have to go through every pick, but give me kind of your feed, one pick that stands out to you, good or bad, and why, as we go through each of these. We're going to start out with a Vikings draft.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, one of our folks in the Discord, Mono 187, I don't know if he's here right now in the chat. I haven't seen him, but very active in our Discord. Did a mock draft for the Vikings. He'll watch this later, I'm sure, if he's not watching it now. Did the trade with the Patriots, Drake May, then got the guard Cooper Beebe, who we talked about earlier, McKinley Jackson, who I know you liked, Drake Nugent, who I had taken, a cornerback, Pritchett, tight end Bell, a safety out of Air Force who has really great grades. There he is, Mono's here. Really good grades, but when you're playing for Air Force, you have to kind of consider the competition. Yeah. Isaiah Davis, who I took. So what are your thoughts on this? And you can talk about any or all the picks on since it's a Vikings draft.
No, overall, it's very good. Those are the first 3 picks. I would be very excited. After that, it kind of falls off for me a little bit, just because I'm not really familiar. I haven't looked at Nehemiah Pritchett much. Nugent, I'm fine with. I'm not super high on him, but whatever. The pick that I don't like, just the safety to me. I know Brian Flores kept like 6 safeties last year, and I just don't know where there's a spot for Trey Taylor on this team right now. And then Air Force, I mean, there's that commitment issue. You don't know when you're going to get them. I just don't like drafting people with the military background just for that reason. Like, we took a long snapper a couple years ago, and I don't know when I think he actually got the exemption or something so he could play right away. So you don't know what the future is going to be with those guys. So to me, that's the big question mark. Other than that, though, I mean, it's a 7th round pick. It's pick 230. You can't nitpick too much. This should be fine. It's a good draft for the Vikings. Yeah. And I love Drake May. I'm a big Drake May guy.
Dan's saying, anyone know how old Trey Taylor is? She hasn't been able to find age. Drew McWhorter, the pick he ate is BB because you can't have him. He's ours.
He's ours.
So yeah. All right. So awesome. For me, when I look at this, I think overall, I think it's a really good draft. Obviously, BB's a really great pick. You talking about McKinley Johnson. So yeah, and Drake May. So yeah, there's just a lot of really good picks. And I mean, based on what you said the needs are and what I also found the needs were, it seems like a pretty good, kind of assessment. No edge. That's maybe the one thing we could like to see, right? But
yeah, I mean, again, they did. We got Van Ginkel, and we got Grenard, and we also got Patrick Jones, who came on late last year, and they got that undrafted kid, the big Andre Carter, the second, who they're still high on. So
another military guy, though. Right?
Yeah, he was a military guy, but he didn't show much. So he's just got freakish size, and they paid him a lot to make the roster. I think they kept him because they thought he would get stolen if they were on the practice squad. But so there is some depth there, but yeah, I would maybe like to see an edge too.
Well, I think it also does come back to that thing we talked about earlier, that you have guys, you need guys with upside. So maybe it is hard to find those guys in the 4th round on, right? So Robert likes this A-.
And you also got to go where the draft takes you too, right? I mean, you can't force things.
Yeah, absolutely, right. Sometimes you just have to figure if you're kind of trying to build something. Sometimes it's better to not reach for a position if it's not the best player, and you're better off just, rather than taking an edge who's not really going to have the upside, take a guy who you like better at that position, even if it's not the position you're ideally looking for. So, yeah. Next up, we have Lance. Lance was in here earlier. So he's got Marvin Harrison Jr., sticking and picking, Cooper DeJean, who I had in my mock draft, Zach Frazier. We've got an offensive center, great player at 36, but listen, I have to do this. The almighty chart says no to you. I say that in fun. I don't want to discourage people from taking chances with their mock. So, that's all in fun. But, I don't, because of the draft, the chart, I don't, but Frazier's a great player. I'm not taking interior offensive line that early because I don't think that's what they're going to do, but great player. Chris Jenkins, who you took, right? So defensive tackle. We've got Ben Snott, the tight end, who I really like. A lot of people like him also as another one of those options for tight end. Jaden Hicks, who I think is a really great option at safety if you can get him that late. Luke McCaffrey, a second wide receiver out of Rice. Jonah Ellis, I think that'd be a steal to get Jonas Ellis there. I think he's going to go earlier than that, but really like that. Fabian Levitt, defensive tackle, Florida State. Braden McGregor, edge, Michigan. And then there's in the trade, there's looks like there's a trade for 2020 from Washington first. I'm not sure where that was at, but where that came from. But okay, what do you think?
Well, you kind of took my thunder with Jonah Ellis, undersized, but it's so explosive off the edge. He's intriguing to me. I wonder where he's going to go. I wonder if that size is going to kind of turn teams off, or if the explosiveness is going to, make him be in that, maybe mid to late day 2 kind of a pick. Luke McCaffrey, stay away from Luke McCaffrey. He is ours. So he's got a lot of Adam Thielen to his game. Like, you see him make those one-handed catches when there's a guy on top of him in the corner of the end zone. He's tough. I think, maybe not wow you with his physicals, but the guy's going to catch everything thrown his way. And he's got the bloodline. So I love that.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Dakota, I did get one of your mocks in here, so it'll be in there. Drew saying, I will say, I think Monty could deviate from the new interior offensive round 3 thing if the guy has positional flexibility. Graham Bard, for example. Maybe, listen, obviously that chart, as much as we joke about it being the almighty chart, it's me trying to read what the Patriots did, and Monty is his own man, and he might want to deviate from that. I do think that chart is useful because I do think he's going to be largely influenced by that, but he's going to want to put his own spin. And I will say that I did the chart last year and all their picks were in line with it last year. Just saying. But who knows, right? Minus the Frazier pick, good draft B, right? Luke McCaffrey going to so late because of his school, definitely a 3rd round talent or better. Yeah. I mean, if you can get him, I like it, right? BB for McCaffrey, right? We'll trade you. You can't have them both.
We'll see.
So,
we'll see.
Yeah, good job, Lance. I do like this draft. I like the Cooper DeJean pick. I'm higher on him.
What's up with the Zach Frazier hate from us? Why don't you guys like Zach Frazier?
For me, it's not that I don't like him. It's that I just don't think the Cardinals or our general manager is going to go into your offensive line that early because of I think there's, and the chart is a reflection of a philosophy, right? And if you look at the Patriots' history, they were very successful finding guards and centers in the 3rd round and on. And even like their center Andrews, who started for them for years, was an undrafted free agent, right? And other guys that have been solid players that they found late. And I think that Monty Ossenfort, coming from the Patriots and the way they scout, believes in their ability to identify starting caliber guards and centers on day 3. And in a world where draft capital, has value and positions, there's higher value positions and premium positions. I think it's a philosophical approach to say we are not going to use premium draft capital on a position we can find solid players on day 3. So that pick 36 there, I think Monty's mindset is rather than find maybe a great center, I can find a good center on day 3, and I'm going to find myself instead a really, really good starting player at edge or cornerback. They like cornerback in round 2, for example. Right. Yeah. So I think it's just that. So it's nothing about the player. Right. Okay. I love John Michael Schmitz last year.
You did.
Right?
Yeah. And you made a song about him.
Right. Exactly. Right. He's got so much so that I made a song about him. Right. Yeah. Dana likes Frazier, second best center draft, but what other talent is there? Right. What's the opportunity cost? Right. That's the short version. Right. What are you passing up to take that great center when you can find good center? And okay, nerding out here. And this is something like if you follow Eric Eager and Sumer Sports, who I love his stuff and I love the stuff they do there. One of the things he's written about and talked about is what they call weak link or strong link positions. There are certain positions where the most important thing is who's the best player you have. And there are other positions where, it's the important thing isn't how good is your best player. It's how good is your worst player. An offensive line is what they call a weak link position, meaning you would rather be in a situation where you have 5 league average starters than having 1 or 2 studs and 3 duds, right? So it's a little bit of that. So if you have a philosophy and an approach like I believe Monty Ossenfort has, where you can find yourself starting caliber guys with day 3 picks, then use those day 1 and 2 picks on the positions like cornerback and other things, right? Brian saying 100%. Bo Limmer would be my choice late round center. I've looked at him. I like him as well, right? Because he's a chart. Biggest needs our team. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of how I look at it. And I think, I'm very much into the analytics sort of roster building philosophy thing. And that's kind of what informs that. So, but let me say, with all that said, when you're submitting your mock drafts, take chances. I might make fun jokes about it because of the chart, but I think it's fun to get different looks, right? To see what it looks like. So do what you want, let your freak flag fly, have fun, keep your skull in your hole. Right?
Yes.
Your line.
Worked good there.
Yes. All right. Next up, Dakota, we have yours. Dakota, stuck in puck. That's from the stick and pick. Marvin Harrison Jr., Darius Robinson, edge, Devondre Sweat, defensive tackle, Chris Abrams, strain, Jeremiah Trotter, linebacker, Kalen Bulk, safety, USC, Zach Zinter, guard, Michigan, Kingsley Agulkin, center, Florida, Christian Jones, offensive tackle, Texas. I think you might have mentioned him, or someone mentioned him earlier. Brevin Spanford, tight end, Minnesota, Frank Gore Jr., running back, Southern Miss. What do you think?
Well, Devondre Sweat's one of my favorite players in this draft. I wish we still had, a pick in that range so we could have hope that we could get him. The one that's intriguing to me is Darius Robinson. Where do you see him? Because I know the guy I'm listed as an edge here. I don't know if that's where he ends up.
He's a little bigger, right?
Yeah, and I don't see the explosion. Like, I think he'd be a very good interior D lineman. You can stand him up every now and then, but I don't like when he's strictly classified as an edge.
Yeah, and I think, and I'm going to make a comparison, and I'm not saying in any way he's this caliber of player, but it's just the way it's used. It reminds me a little bit how JJ Watt is big, right? Like Darius Robinson, 6'5", 296, right? It reminds me a little bit how JJ Watt, depending on who you ask, was an interior defensive lineman or an edge, and they moved him around across the line, right? Inside and out. So for me, Darius Robinson, I do like players with that profile because I think I like the flexibility because if you look at what the Cardinals do on defense, or they'll sometimes have a 3-4 front on running downs, right? That defensive tackle, and then the 3 techniques and the outside linebackers, and then then they'll move to more of a 4-2-5 look in the nickel, right? Where they have a 4-man front, really. And I think when you move around like that, having a guy like Robinson who can be a 3 technique in the 3-4, and then when you're going to that 4-man front, you move him as one of those bigger edge rushers on the outside. I kind of like that profile. So for me, I like it. And I do think he's an edge, but it's just he's either a 3 technique or a 5 technique or whatever, depending on the front that they're playing. So I like it. I think you look at what the Eagles had defensively, they had some guys like that. So I like that as a potential fit.
Yeah, I like him too. I don't know if I'd classify him as anything. A D lineman, I'd call him.
Yeah.
Sweat's interesting. I'm curious where he's going to end up because, the 2-down player thing could cause him to fall. But man, I mean, for a big man, he can move, gets his arms up there. He's got some pass rush moves. He's fun to watch. And
yeah, I think that's a little early for him. I think it's a little early because, like you point out, a 2-down player. I do think this defense wants that, right? Because you look at, like, again, coming from the Eagles system, and they want a nose, right? They drafted the big guy out of Georgia a couple years ago for that reason, right? And they kept Lecky Fotu on the roster, for that reason. They signed the guy that was formerly with you, right, for that reason. So I think it's a position they like a guy at. I just don't know, I don't think that early, right? So yeah. And Dana's saying, I think better talent's available for much of this one, and Sweat taken too early. Spanford was good at Senior Bowl, but tape isn't as good. Yeah. Drew's really high on Kalen Bullock. I think his stock is getting hurt playing god-awful defense at USC, but he and Bear Alexander stood out for sure. So, yeah. So overall, I like it. There's maybe some players are a little early. For me, I really do like the Darius Robinson pick. Maybe you could get him at 35, but I don't mind region for him there because I could see him going there. So next up, we have Robert Moore, who I know is in the chat. He's got a couple trades, ended up trading back, getting Malik Neighbors. That philosophy I kind of talked about, get one of the receivers. Then got Jared Verse, who I don't think he'll be there 23, but if he is, boy, that's a great deal. Drazan Newton, or Johnny Newton, depending on what you want to call him, at 27. Love him. Love that. I think, it's, he or Murphy, if you can get one of those two guys, game record inside. Then got our second receiver, Troy Franklin, at 49. So went early with that second receiver. I'm not going to pronounce the last name, but tackle from Yale. Jeremiah Trotter, linebacker. Kerry Jackson, cornerback. Braylon Allen, halfback out of Wisconsin. Really big, really fast. Maybe doesn't have the vision that you're looking for, but athletic tools. Cade Stover, tight end out of Ohio State. James Williams, safety out of Florida.
Huge safety.
Huge. Yeah, big. Josh June, cornerback out of TCU, and Jordan Jefferson, the guy that you liked out of LSU. So what do you think?
Well, I want to go to the trade here. What would you guys think as Cardinals fans if you guys give us back a fifth rounder in the trade? Are you guys going to be like, what the hell are we giving them picks back? Or are you going to be okay with that?
So
because not every simulator will let you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and that's exactly the point, right? That the simulators, they'll reject them. So I think that was probably what happened here. Like for me, like even though I was able to do the first 11, 23 and a future first, actually I think in PFF they wouldn't give me the future first. They did not recognize the quarterback tax, and I had to do first 11, 23 and a future third just to make it happen. I don't mind giving back a pick as long as we're getting a future day 1 or 2 in the trade. That particular trade I don't like. I think they will be able to get better because of the quarterback tax. But we have a lot of picks this year, so I don't mind throwing a little bit of change from day 3 in, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because I mean that's something we see, and I think Dan Jeremiah's mock was the first one that we got something back to, and we're like, okay, well if we can get another 4th or a 5th, hell yeah, it makes it better. Kyrie Jackson's a guy I really like from Oregon. I love his length. I think he's willing to come up and hit a little bit raw still. I think he transferred from Alabama, so he's only had like 1, maybe 1.5 full seasons. But he's intriguing to me, and he's a guy I always snap up if he's there in round 4 when I mock with the Vikings.
Yeah, Kyrie Jackson's a guy I also really like. I know that like the folks at Bootleg Football Podcast are really big on him, and I think that's if you're not going cornerback early, that's the cornerback I like to grab on day 2. I think he's going to go in day 2. Might go a little earlier, 90, maybe not, but I really like that. Right, so Robert's saying the website wouldn't allow him forced to trade. Right, yeah. So yeah, no, I like it. I really like. I mean, Robert, I give you an A on this one. Like getting Neighbors versus Newton, I love that. And you went ahead and foregone the cornerback early, but you came back and got the cornerback that I love getting, Kyrie Jackson. If you're going to miss out on one of those early ones, got that developmental tackle like I talked about. Got 2 receivers, but you went even earlier, so you really helped that room. I love Cade Stover. The running back, I know folks in our stream really like Braylon Allen because of the physical tools, but the vision isn't quite there for me. So I think for this offense, the wide zone, kind of that you need that one cut kind of running back who has good vision. And I don't know if he's that. I mean, he's big and fast, but there's other guys like better. But overall, this is a really good draft. So, yeah. Boss, thank you. Yeah. Dana, this is a good point. I don't see what Trotter should probably go back and film, see what I'm missing, or if people are watching high stuff. I'll admit I kind of went after in part the name, but as I've looked at the scouting reports, I think size and some things, I've cooled on him a bit. Dana needs to look at the film. She likes Cam Hart better than Kyrie Jackson. Yeah. Charge 22 is better as 23, but I think he's getting treatment. People are thinking Marvin's getting just for last name. I don't think he's going to be high with a different last name. Yeah. All right. So good job, Robert. Next up, we have Drew, who's been in here, and his mom, who is very proud of him. Right. Drew and his mom. All right. He did. Now he took, and I know we communicate on Twitter a bit, so I know this is a player he really likes, Adonai Mitchell. And by the way, let me do a quick shout out. Drew and my good friend, Kyler Bird, and then also another gentleman. My brain is not working right now, but who I also follow, Brian. Tell me who it is in the chat, Drew. I'm so sorry, but I think it's Brian is his name. But they do some Twitter Spaces talking, and they've been doing a couple of those talking stuff. So if you're not following Drew on Twitter, or Kyler Bird, Kyler puts those out. Brian is who it is. Okay, yeah. They're doing some really good conversations about Cardinal stuff, so check them out. But I know that Drew likes Adonai Mitchell, and I knew that this kind of approach was coming, right? So he did a trade back, got Jared Verse, the edge rusher, then AD Mitchell, right? Then Kool-Aid got the cornerback. So nice, got the 3 positions we keep talking about: edge, receiver, cornerback. Then Darius Robinson we talked about. So double down on the edge, got some more flexibility. Jenkins got the defensive interior. So you really shored up the defense here and also got us a receiver. Then Christian Mahogany got a guard there in round 3. Brennan Rice, who the Cardinals have met with, I put out a tweet where I said he reminds me a little bit of Michael Wilson, big but not necessarily the fastest, but still has some good skills. Braylon Allen, who we already talked about, guard Trevor Keegan, so another guard. Nehemiah Pritchett, cornerback. Tight end Tip Ryman, so got a tight end there late, and then safety Tyler Owens got it. So I do like taking a safety for depth there. So Luke's saying, what do you think of AD Mitchell? I like him. I feel, and I've said this before, I feel very strongly at this point that I like the top 3 receivers, and I don't want to miss on one of the 3. I don't care which one. I have a preference, but as long as we get one of them. So of that next tier, AD Mitchell's probably at the top, if not near the top, if not the very top for that next tier for me. I like him better than Brian Thomas Jr., who, there was a really good podcast I watched, someone shared it in Discord. I forget who it was. It was the guy, Josh Norris from Underdog, and another guy who does some analytics talking about the receivers. And Brian Thomas, the advanced metrics have him having a pretty high bust potential. So I'm a little leery of him. So in that next tier, AD Mitchell is probably the top for me, but I don't want to go to the next tier. I want one of the top 3, and then I want to take a receiver somewhere between round 3 and 7. So, but I do like Mitchell. It's just from how I want to approach a draft, I'm not taking him for that reason. Drew mentioning his Twitter handle. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. For the spaces. So yeah, AD is so smooth. So I will, again, if I have to go someone who's not one of the top 3, that's who it is. But what makes him tier 2? Yeah, I mean, in terms of not tier 1, I think, he's got the speed and got some, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think some people even compared, is it CeeDee Lamb? Is he the one that people have compared to CeeDee Lamb? Correct me if I'm wrong. So I do like him, but I just think this tier 1 is just so good. I think just Marvin Harrison Jr., everyone's talked about him a ton. Speed, size, everything, right? I think that Rome Odunze has I think the size and some things that I really like about him, or, I think people have compared him to, some people, the comp for him is Larry Fitzgerald, least player style. Now that's a high praise, but I like Odunze better. Luke's saying, he's better at getting off press than Rome. So, I think Rome's still a little bigger, more physical, but, again, hey, who knows? Maybe 3 years from now, you're going to be right in that he's better than, and we'll see, right? Anything's possible. But for me, I like, I have him in tier 2, and I think most evaluators seem to also have him there. AD is legit. I drafted him over Thomas. Yeah. He's CeeDee Lamb clone in many ways. His yak made him at quite on Lamb's level, but his route running it onto very smooth. So I like him for sure. Oh, this isn't his official mock. He'll do that week of the draft. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mizaki Felix likes it, right? Yeah. So overall, yeah, I like it.
I just don't like giving up that future first to get to 4. That to me is a way overpay, but
I'm sure
it could happen. But
I hear. In fact, I will say, I think what the 2 first and the future first and a 5th to give you guys a 4th. I think we robbed you in this trade. So I don't think I think.
You got to remember that 23 is a lot more valuable than any future pick. That's what I think needs to be factored in. But again, I get the quarterback tax. It's very real.
Yeah. And there's other teams that you're competing against for that, right? For that last quarterback.
And I will say he could do it.
Right, absolutely. I think, in my opinion, if you trade with the Cardinals, I think what that trade looks like is this: the 11-23, obvious, maybe a second round next year, but possibly the first round. But if it's a first round next year, I think the Cardinals are definitely sending something back to you, maybe even as high as a 3rd rounder this year, because you all don't have a pick to 4th round. So I could see a scenario where the way it looks is we get 11-23. Next year's 1, and you get one of our 3 third-round picks, right? I absolutely could see that being.
That would make it easier to swallow. But
yeah, for sure. So, all right. So good job. I do like it, Drew. I'm not going AD Mitchell, not because I don't like him. I already talked about why, but yeah. So next up, we have Judai. I haven't seen him in the chat, but he'll probably watch this later. Very active in the Discord as well. Appreciate your mock draft. Marvin Harrison Jr. But, of course, we've got The almighty chart says says that Jackson Powers Johnson may be a great player, but not in the first round for Monty. But no, but really good player. Chris Braswell, edge out of Alabama in the second round. I take him there a lot often if we miss out on an earlier edge. Christian Haynes, guard in the third round. Devondre Sweat, interior defensive lineman. Don McPooney, who is listed as tackle, may end up being a guard, but has the movement that you're looking for, like that shuttle that we keep talking about. He's in that threshold. So that's a guy to look out for. Jerian Jones, Florida State cornerback. Christian Boyd, we love him. We talked about that. Cornerback Dwight McLovin. And then Tip Ryman, tight end. And then Isaiah Davis, a halfback who's made a few appearances. What do you think on this one, Nick?
Yeah, there's a lot of names that I used to look at when we had day 2 picks. Braswell, Christian Haynes, both guys I like a lot. Braswell is interesting to me. He plays behind those 2 studs, Will Anderson, and then Dallas Turner. I'm curious to see what he can be at the next level. I think he's got some potential and some upside there. So he's an intriguing one to me. 35, maybe it's a little rich, but it's probably where you got to get him if you want him. I don't know if he gets to 66.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, and I don't think we're going to end up with him because I think he's going to go before Monty would take a guard. Dana saying Puny is a 5-positional player for depth, and I do like him for that reason. Very versatile, and probably more likely to be a guard at the next level. But if you're taking a guy and he can have that flexibility to fill in, that's really nice. So obviously we like Christian Boyd, Braswell is interesting to me in that next tier of edge rushers because Bama, they get those guys who are really good athletes, so we all know what their program's like there. So that's an interesting player. So overall, and then everyone we talked about Christian Boyd, that's a really great interior defensive line. So yeah, Judah, this is a really good mock draft. Yeah, I'm not taking center that early. The player
JPJ
I like.
sounds like MJS. You can make a song,
right.
It kind of works.
right. Oh man, I'm gonna have to do that if we draft tomorrow night. So all right, but yeah, overall I like it. So I think this is I think this is a good mock. I'm not taking center that early because what I expect, but I think it's a good one. Next up, we have Money Minetti, really active in the Discord. One of the stalwarts in the Discord. He traded back. This guy needs to go to Vegas. Got traded back to 6 and still got Marvin Harrison Jr.
Names,
right? Yeah. So Marvin Harrison Jr. at 6. I don't know how you did that. I don't know who you have naked pictures of or who you bribed or whatever. But
gas mask.
Right. Gas mask. Oh man, yeah, I remember that day of the draft. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was insane.
Byron Murphy at 27. Yeah, love that. I don't think he'll last that long, but man, love that.
He's the guy that if the Vikings stick and pick, they're thinking they're going to take him at 11. So
yeah,
he could be the dog up front that we need. Is 11 too rich? Maybe, but it's Vikings love him apparently.
Let me ask you this question: if you or if you don't move up, do you think? Well, you guys have that late first round pick, so do you think you go quarterback at 23?
I think you do. I think you do. Okay. I think Penix will get there. I mean, you got
okay.
Apparently, the Broncos are more of a Bo Nix team. I don't think he should go in the first round, but yeah, I think it's 11 defensive player, whether that's an edge like Verse or if it's Byron Murphy. I think that's what you do. But yeah, I mean, I love Murphy. I mean, he can be that force up front.
If you don't move up, do you consider trading back a little bit to add more picks on day 2? Maybe move 3 or 4 spots.
Yeah, maybe.
But you know what? You all made that move to get 23.
The weird thing is apparently the Texans reached out to us about it. That's what confuses the whole situation.
Interesting.
He wasn't the one masterminding this whole thing. I think it really.
Because the rationale would be you don't make that move unless you're planning to load up to move up for a quarterback. So what did you trade? What did you trade for pick 23?
A second this year and a second next year.
Okay.
And then we got an extra 7th.
So the Texans front office is from the Patriots, right? And the Patriots love trading back and they love second round picks. So that might be the rationale. Okay, interesting. So this mock would definitely get Monty a statue, right? So okay. So then we got Kool-Aid, Tavondre Sweat, Junior Colson, Braylon Trice, who you took there, Brendan Rice, wide receiver, Braylon Allen, running back, safety, James Williams, Trevor Keegan, Brevin Spanford, and Gadlin. I'm going to try to pronounce it, out of Liberty. Okay, what stands out to you? You mentioned Byron Murphy. Anything else that you like or don't like about this?
No, I think we've talked to everybody. I mean, look at where Sweat at 47. I think I like him better than at 35 that the last mock had. I don't know anything about this Gadlin character. First I've ever actually seen him, but yeah, other than that, I think we've hit most of these guys already.
Yeah. I like it as well. I love getting that linebacker Colson there. So good job there.
Yeah, he's good.
Cavalier is a late submission.
What's going on? No, Storm Duck's there.
Yeah, Storm Duck. I told you Storm Duck would make an appearance. Hey, we got Penix. Oh, wait.
Trent Penix. That's the Wish version of Penix.
Money, our Cavalier submitted this late, was very proud of it. And I have no freaking idea what he was like. There's usually a theme or a joke.
Yeah, what's a joke?
I have no idea. The joke is confusing us. Tyron Hopper, linebacker, Missouri. Trajan Jeffcoat, edge, Arkansas.
Was it just names that he liked?
I think it may be Jack Plummer. We have Jake Plummer, Cardinals. Yeah, Michael Juergens. MKT Bongo, he likes it.
It's got to be names, right? There's some great names in this.
There's something like that. Grade B.
What?
Who invited Kime?
Yeah, right.
The joke is reaches all the way down. Roster. Yeah, I have no idea what he did here, but this is fun. Stiggers, Storm Duck. Yeah. I think it's a name thing. OVO.
I think it's got to be a name thing.
Al Blake Jr. Looks like a Kime draft. Yeah, I think we need a few more linebackers for that, right? Yeah, Kime draft. So, all right. So this is a great way. I think that's. Raphael.
Thank you, Raphael.
Miss mine. So, guys, a happy Mock Draft Monday. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yes, I gave you a little bit of crap on that one. But if you go back and watch it, yeah, it's there. But overall, I did like your mock. But thank you so much for your support, Raphael. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, Kime time, right? Yeah. So, all right. And I think that's it.
Wow.
It's been a little bit of a marathon, but
went by fast.
Nick, always fun to hang out with you, man.
Appreciate it, Professor.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. Why don't you, again, your links to Twitter and your YouTube channel are both in the description of this video, but give folks a shout out. I'm a big believer. Follow content creators from other teams. It's fun to see what y'all are doing. And I think you guys do some of the most fun content out there, especially for Vikings. Just shout out what people can expect and any parting shots you want to take.
Yeah, we've been going live Tuesdays and Thursdays. We got some guests lined up. We've been kind of collaborating with some mock draft experts. So we'll have those guys on this month. Hopefully we've had a few interviews lined up with some prospects. Hoping we get those set in stone. But we get Najee Thompson on every now and then, the special teams ace from the Vikings. So it's been great. But yeah, and then obviously mock drafts. We got a big tailgate party coming up on draft night, 4:30, maybe it's 5 to 6:30. I think we're doing. So that's gonna be huge. That's gonna be fun. Very excited about that. So yeah, it's a big month. It's an exciting month, and these next 24 days, I cannot wait for them to fly by so we can get to this draft. This is huge for the Vikings this year. It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking your franchise quarterback, which is, I think everyone expects is going to happen, is absolutely vital, right? So it's a huge draft for you. It's a huge draft for the Cardinals because this is the first one where our new GM has had his process in place, and we've got really, the most draft capital in the league right now overall this year. So we both have huge drafts for different reasons, right? But yeah, Nick, I appreciate you jumping on here. It is every time we get together, it's fun. I know you got to get jumping, but everyone make sure you follow him, and we're going to get out of here, do our shout outs to the channel members. Thank you, everyone. Peace.